Welcome. Your art is a spell, and it will change your life and the world around you. The Pentagon has confirmed the existence of UFOs. Government research programs have documented telepathy. Indigenous wisdom traditions have always known that consciousness permeates everything. And as artists, we're at the forefront of a massive paradigm shift in how humanity understands reality itself. I'm Edgar Fabián Frías, and welcome to Your Art is a Spell. Today, we're exploring nonlinear psychic collaboration, the profound concept that your creative work can transcend time and space, connecting with consciousness across all dimensions. If you've ever felt your art coming through you rather than from you, or experienced uncanny synchronicities, this episode will give you the framework to understand these experiences and intentionally harness this power in your creative practice. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's journey together into a reality where time is not linear and where we are all connected and where your art can literally change the fabric of all existence. Let's start by acknowledging something important. The dominant Western worldview has trained us to believe that time is linear, that it moves in one direction, that physical reality is all that there is, and that we exist as separate individuals, isolated in our own consciousness. This materialist worldview tells us that if we can't measure it, it is not real. If we can't prove it in a laboratory, then it's just in your imagination. This perspective has been incredibly useful for the development of technological and scientific discovery, but it has also severely limited our understanding of consciousness, connection, and creativity. The truth is that this narrow worldview is not universal. Indigenous cultures across the planet have maintained cosmologies that recognize the inherent consciousness in all beings. Many traditions understand time as cyclical rather than linear. Quantum physics has begun to suggest that consciousness itself might be fundamental to reality, not just an emergent property of our brains. As artists, we have a unique responsibility to challenge these dominant narratives. When we create from a place of deep listening to our intuition, to the world around us, to the subtle energies that connect all things, we become channels for new ways of being and seeing. Indigenous cosmologies from Australia to the Americas and even to Africa all share a common thread: the understanding that all beings, human, animal, plant, stone, star, are relatives, that consciousness permeates everything. The Lakota phrase, mitakuye oyasin, which means all of my relations, captures this beautifully. The concept of the country in Aboriginal Australian traditions speaks to the consciousness that is living within land itself. These are not metaphors or poetic devices. They're literal truths about the nature of reality, and Western science is only beginning to catch up with these truths. When I talk about nonlinear psychic collaboration, I'm drawing deeply from these traditions while acknowledging that as a queer, indigenous, and Latina person working within a Western context, I have so much to learn. But I'm also drawing from direct experience, because once you start opening up to these possibilities, reality itself starts to shift. I want to share a couple of personal experiences that have really shaped my understanding of nonlinear psychic collaboration. These are not just theoretical concepts for me, they're lived realities that have fundamentally changed how I approach my art and my life. So the first story begins when I was living at home with my parents. I had just moved there from the Bay. It was a moment of transition, and I started to have dreams that a crystal was calling me in the mountain near my parents' home. I told my partner about these dreams, and he was really excited and said, "Let's go to the mountain to see if we find some crystals." And as you would imagine, we found a lot of crystals. There were a lot of magical moments, but it was one specific moment that really opened up something that has changed my life forever. One of these crystals sent me a message as I was cleaning it, and I'm touching here in my head. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see I felt this message here in the top of my forehead, and I remember seeing images of structures, of energies. I did not know what these meant, but I remember hearing the message that I needed to talk with my father about this message. I shared it with him, and to my surprise, he told me that my grandfather used to also speak with crystals, and that he would tell my dad that crystals sometimes have ancestors inside of them and that they will call you in your dreams. This sent a deep shiver through my whole body, as my father had no idea about the dreams I had been having of this crystal calling me in the mountains. It was from this conversation that for the first time ever, my dad shared about our indigenous ancestry. He shared that we are Wixárika, and that in our tradition, we connect with plants, with animals, with crystals, with stones. And this was so validating for me as someone who has had countless experiences of connecting with animals, plants, crystals, stones, minerals, clouds, water. I've connected with so many beings, and this really just affirmed something that was already inside of me. This was one of the most profound experiences I've had of a nonlinear psychic collaboration happening across time and space. But I've also had a lot of experiences where other people have come to me and connected with me, and we've realized that we've been working together long before we've physically met, or at times even without speaking verbally in this dimension. For example, last year, I created a UFO that was placed in downtown Los Angeles. If you're on YouTube, you can watch a video about this UFO here. I will also be sharing it in the podcast notes as well. And I found out later that at the same time that I had had the vision to create a UFO to place in a public space that would hold the prayers and intentions of the community, another artist who was living on the East Coast that I did not know personally was also called to create a UFO that would hold the prayers of people and to place it in a public space. This artist is named Petra Sigyagi, and I'm actually hoping to invite them to come on a future episode of Your Art is a Spell to talk about this divine synchronicity that we experience together. These aren't just coincidences. They're examples of what I call a nonlinear psychic collaboration, the reality that consciousness can and does connect across time and space. We're literally meeting in dream space, in the astral, in what some traditions might call the Akashic field. We're co-creating across dimensions. And once you start noticing these connections, they multiply. Reality begins to reveal itself as more fluid, far more responsive to consciousness than we've been taught to believe. You might be thinking, this all sounds a bit out there, but here's where things get really interesting. Science and government institutions are increasingly acknowledging the reality of phenomena that were once dismissed as impossible. The Pentagon's UFO disclosure program, now called the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, has confirmed the reality of crafts performing maneuvers that defy our understanding of physics. In 2023, the whistleblower David Grush testified before Congress about the retrieval of non-human craft and biological specimens. This isn't fringe conspiracy anymore. It's being discussed in mainstream media and in government hearings. Even more relevant to our discussion of nonlinear psychic collaboration are the declassified documents about government psychic research programs. You heard that right. The government has underground psychic research programs. Project Stargate, which ran from the 1970s to the 1990s, studied remote viewing, the ability to psychically perceive distant locations. The research was promising enough that the program ran for decades, and remote viewers are still employed by corporations and government agencies to this day. In 2022, the Institute of Noetic Sciences published research showing evidence for precognition, the ability to sense future events before they occur. This directly relates to the non-linear aspect of psychic collaboration I'm discussing. In Silicon Valley, there's an increasing interest in what are called psionic assets, leveraging intuitive and psychic capacities for business advantage. It sounds like science fiction, but it's happening now. All of this points to something indigenous traditions have always known. Consciousness is not formed in the brain. It permeates reality and can influence events across space and time. Two podcasts that I've been listening to recently that have resurfaced my passion for and understanding of nonlinear psychic collaboration have been first, the Telepathy Tapes by Kai Dickens, which explores something absolutely mind-blowing: nonverbal autistic children who communicate telepathically across time and space. Dickens documents cases where these children, who may not even speak verbally, can describe the same meeting places they visit together in non-physical reality. They report identical details about these spaces despite never having verbally communicated about them. The podcast presents compelling evidence that these children access forms of consciousness that most neurotypical people have forgotten how to utilize. It challenges our fundamental assumptions about communication, suggesting that spoken language might actually be limiting compared to the direct telepathic abilities that these children demonstrate. Second, is Third Eye Drops, hosted by Michael Phillip. This podcast has also been a big inspiration. It brilliantly brings together scientists, philosophers, mystics, and artists to explore the frontiers of consciousness. Episodes feature deep conversations on plant intelligence, parapsychology research, technology and religious experience, and high strangeness. What I love about Third Eye Drops is how it bridges the gap between scientific rigor and spiritual wisdom without sacrificing either. Both of these podcasts have profoundly expanded my understanding of what is possible, and I highly recommend them. Again, I will be sharing them in the notes. So what exactly do I mean by nonlinear psychic collaboration? It's the understanding that we can exist and create outside of conventional limits of time and space. That your consciousness right now is in conversation with your past and future selves. that when you make art, you're not just creating for the present moment, you're sending messages backward and forward in time along the spirals of time. It is a recognition that there are ancestors, both those who have lived before and those who have yet to be born, who are actively collaborating with you, sending guidance, inspiration, and support. The awareness that when you put your art out into the world, it creates ripples through consciousness that cannot be measured or quantified, but are nonetheless real and profound. This perspective shifts everything about how we approach creativity. It's no longer just about self-expression or making a product. It becomes a sacred act of communication across dimensions. Your paintbrush or pen or your voice becomes a tool for bending reality itself. When you create from this understanding, you're not just making art, you're casting spells that can literally rewrite the past and shape the future. Your intentions become woven into the fabric of reality. And in this uncertain and often frightening time that we're living in, this knowledge isn't just interesting, it's essential. It's a source of profound hope and empowerment, because if consciousness can affect reality, if time is actually fluid rather than fixed, then nothing is determined. Everything is possible. We are not helpless observers of a declining world. We are active co-creators of reality itself. I want to emphasize something really important. While the concepts I'm describing have roots in many traditions, I'm particularly interested in exploring them through queer, trans, and BIPOC perspectives. Our communities have always had to navigate realities beyond the dominant paradigm. When you exist outside of societal norms, you develop what Gloria Anzaldúa called la facultad, a heightened sensitivity to subtle energies and unseen dimensions. The wisdom of my community, the Wixárika people of Mexico, offers profound insights into nonlinear existence. In our tradition, we understand the world through nyerikas, sacred portals or passageways between different dimensions of reality. Our yarn paintings and beadwork aren't just art, they're actual doorways through which communication with ancestors and deities becomes possible. In Wixárika cosmology, dreams aren't just subconscious processing, they're literal visits into other realms where we receive knowledge and guidance, just like I shared about my experience with dreams. Similarly, non-binary visionaries like Alok Vade Menon remind us that transcending binaries is not just about gender, it's about existence itself. As Alok beautifully writes, the binary is a prison of the imagination. Once we break free from it, we realize that reality has always been more complex, more interdependent, more magical than we've been taught. Non-binary existence itself is a form of magic, a lived reality that challenges fundamental Western assumptions about identity being fixed and singular. As Alok points out, in a world obsessed with boxes, existing beyond them is revolutionary. This perspective on transcending binaries applies powerfully to how we understand time, space, and collaboration. Queer and trans folks have always understood that our identities transcend physical form. We've experienced firsthand how intention and belief can literally reshape reality. The act of transition itself is a powerful example of consciousness affecting physical form. BIPOC communities have maintained traditional knowledge systems despite centuries of colonial oppression. These traditions offer profound insights into non-ordinary states of consciousness and alternative cosmologies. I believe we need these perspectives now more than ever. The materialist, patriarchal, colonial worldview has brought us to the brink of ecological collapse. It's time to listen to those who have maintained other ways of knowing. This is why I'm extending an open invitation to the community. I want to connect with folks who are exploring UFOs, psychic phenomenon, witchcraft, remote viewing, animism, indigenous cosmologies, especially those coming from queer, trans, and BIPOC perspectives. If that's you, or someone that you know that is doing this work, please reach out. Let's collaborate in all dimensions. Because this moment we're living through, as scary and uncertain as it is also incredibly powerful and transformative. We are witnessing the dissolution of the old system and the emergence of new possibilities. And as artists, we have a unique role to play within this transition. So what does this all mean for you as an artist or as a creative person? It means that your art matters now more than ever. When you create with intention, when you listen deeply to the messages coming through, when you open yourself to collaboration across dimensions, you're participating in the great work of reimagining reality itself. It means that you can talk to your future self, ask for guidance and support. You can plant seeds in your work that will be discovered by your past self in a beautiful temporal loop. You can reclaim any feelings of hopelessness or helplessness and recognize your profound power as a creator of reality. This is one of the core reasons that I started this podcast, to invite you into this conversation and into this reality where magic is real, where our conversations with spirits, ancestors, aliens, angels are genuine encounters with other forms of consciousness. I want you to try something with me right now, wherever you are. Close your eyes if it's safe to do so. Take a deep breath. Now imagine yourself, your future self, 1 year from today. They're looking back at this moment, at the art you're creating now. What message do they have for you? What do they want you to know? Just listen for a moment. That voice, that feeling, that knowing, that's nonlinear psychic collaboration happening right now. Your future self is reaching back through time to guide you. In the coming episodes, we'll explore more practical techniques for working with these concepts. We'll talk about specific practices for opening your psychic channels, for communicating across dimensions, for imbuing your art with powerful intentions. But for now, I invite you to simply hold this possibility that your art is literally changing the fabric of reality, that you are in conversation with beings across time and space, that the messages coming through your creativity are a part of a vast, beautiful collaboration that transcends our limited understanding of what is possible. Thank you for journeying with me. If this resonates with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, no matter what, your art is a spell and it will change your life and the world around you. Thank you for listening to Your Art is a Spell. If you want to continue this conversation, leave me a review or a comment below. Sign up for my newsletter at yourartisaspell.com or send me a voice note with a question or a comment about today's topic at speakpipe.com/yourartisaspell. Alternatively, if you're seeking career, art, or spiritual advice, you can also leave me a question and I will respond to it in a future episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, and to share it with a friend. Until next time, keep casting your spells into the world. We need your magic now more than ever.